Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crystal Earth podcast. This is a very special episode that we're doing today because I have some very, very special people with me. I've mentioned in the past that the whole override could not have completed without my group. And so today we have the group with us for a very, very special Earthkeepers panel. I love these people with all my heart. So we're going to hear from everybody today and talk a little bit about not only what each of our contributions were to the override, to this whole project of rebooting Earth's grid, her original crystalline blueprint, but also how we work together as a group through our theme today that we're going to be talking about is what unity through diversity means. So I thought it would be really fun to show anybody who's watching what that looks like, especially in completing such a big project like we did. So I want to tell you a little bit about what this group started out and what it became, and then I'll introduce everybody. So when we all found each other, I don't think we had no idea that this was anything of what it became. It actually started out as an apprenticeship where I was kind of the teacher and they were the students, and we were all kind of working on developing our gifts, our abilities, because we all had these really interesting similarities that tied into each other. And kind of overlapped, be that guides who knew each other or past lives that were shared together or like abilities that kind of complemented each other, which is really, really cool. But then at some point along the way, we started realizing, oh, there's something else going on here. And that's when we realized that we were actually all brought together to help restore Gaia's original blueprint. So we'll talk a little bit about that. You guys have heard me talk a bit about that anyway in the podcast. So I just really want to feature everybody and our own unique contributions and what it means to weave together as a group, doing grid work, work with the land, energy work, all of it. So what I would love to do, let's go through and introduce ourselves. What I would love for you guys to share is who you are kind of in your like muggle life. Because that's kind of what we say. We're like, yeah, in our muggle life. Sometimes it feels like having a secret identity. So we'll talk about like who we are in our muggle life and then also what we contribute to Earth's field as an Earthkeeper. So and our crystalline abilities as Earthkeepers. So Erin, I'm going to start with you. I'm just going to go around. Sorry, I'm like calling on you.
Okay, no pressure.
So Erin, let's start with you because you're already unmuted. Go ahead.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Erin. I live in Massachusetts and I work in public education, my muggle life. I'm the mom of two young adult kids who are awesome. And in my sort of multi-dimensional self, in a nutshell, I am a frequency and sound weaver, essentially an energetic bridge between worlds. And my core gift is bringing harmony. So using sound, voice, and energy weaving to restore coherence both in individuals and in the collective. So over the past year with the Earthkeepers, my role has really been about anchoring frequencies, during the different work that we've done together collectively. And I've also led some sound journeys that help to support our individual energies and collective energies, prepare for the work that we're doing or integrate the work that we've done. And it's basically just help to strengthen the crystalline grid with that gift, I guess. So my presence sort of acts as a stabilizer for the group and like almost like a mirror at times. So it's a lot about keeping everybody aligned and attuned, grounded, and also just being a transmitter and an anchor for those frequencies that we're bringing through. So not always the flashiest role, but I think one that's one that's important and also kind of fits who I am just in my life too as a person, like how I've always walked through life. So it just kind of makes sense that's how I would present, to this group and in this role as well.
Thank you, Erin. Yes, I think that's one of the most beautiful things is like Sometimes our medicine is our presence. Our abilities, they don't have to be loud and they don't have to shout to be felt and to be extremely powerful. And I think Erin's an amazing example of that. So thank you, Erin. All right, Amber, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Amber, and I was thinking about my role in this group and in the roles in my more muggle life, and I realized that I illuminate. So in my muggle life, I'm a psychotherapist, and I illuminate the darkest realms of humanity in the sense of the subconscious, the collective subconscious, like bringing all of these things to light so that people can transform, transmute, come into coherence with their soul. Like I don't just do kind of lighthearted psychotherapy. I'm also doing Akashic Records readings, which is another way to illuminate the soul and understand our souls and come into coherence with our higher selves, our journey, come into deep understanding. And then in this group, I do a lot with light, a lot with illumination, weaving light. As an example, that might look like weaving liquid crystalline light into a grid or with each other or in different fields. And I tend to do a lot of energy work kind of day to day as I move through the world. I might be sending light into the heart of Gaia or Earth, like the center of the Earth. I might be connecting to Source and connecting the two. I do just kind of day to day. I might be driving and sending light into the Earth. If I notice different things happening around me that I recognize, like something needs to maybe be adjusted here, or something's a little off, or a being is coming in that might need to be lightened up or whatever, you know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways that can happen. And so that's the core of what I do. That's it.
Thank you, Amber. Doing grid work isn't always a formal ceremonial thing. Sometimes it's like I'm walking through my own environment and I'm noticing, something needs to be tuned. And that's what it means, I think, to really like walk as a human and as an Earthkeeper and as a grid worker. So I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you, Amber. All right. Next up, I have Nicole.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nicole, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I think one of my primary kind of functions as an energy body is I work with the fusion of solar and lunar energies. So it's really about balance and what balance feels like in the body as well. In my Muggle life, I work with dance and movement and performance and art. And so I make my own work, but I also am really passionate about finding time and space for other artists to be creating their work, which I think is its own form of light work, the way art exists in the world and the way that it speaks to people and changes people. And so I've been doing that for years, and now really merging these parts of myself as well into my own art has been really exciting in this last year. I am extremely passionate about moving the connection that we have with the galactic or with other realms or our guides, moving those energies into our body so that they can manifest in the 3D world. So a lot of the things that I think about are how the body responds to those energies in order to kind of output them into the world around us. So I love trying to get people encourage people to be in motion, encourage people to experience even meditation in another way, that it doesn't always have to look one way. Stillness might not look the same for you versus you versus you versus you, and to be in your own body and to pull it through your body in whatever way feels the most connected for you, because each person is here to be different and that's the magic of us all being here. So that's been a huge shift for me this year, and embracing those parts of myself and really seeing the power in becoming more true to myself. Speaking to what Amber was saying, another thing I love to do is really just move the energy throughout the day. Like as I'm walking, I might imagine like sacred geometry in my footprints to leave behind for someone to find, or I do a lot of clearing, almost like clearing of cobwebs. So when it comes to old power structured, old dynamics, old energy, anything that's stagnant, I work with a lot of like kind of clearing that down so that new things can emerge from those pieces. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. It's beautiful. I've been talking recently about how this whole process, the override, and it's not about ascension, like out of the body coming higher. It's actually about rooting these frequencies into the body as a human species. We're not advancing higher and in like an intellectual or a cosmic sense necessarily. It's like we're actually bringing that, anchoring that into our body and rooting it into ourselves, because I think a lot of people in this space, it's like, oh, we want to escape Earth. We want to get out of,
Get out of the mud.
yeah, it's like, excuse me, I'm going to drop an F-bomb. It's like, fuck this planet. I'm out of here. But that's not, but like, no, what we've been working on is like, how do we actually like root down into our bodies, into the Earth, into our planet, and making it a place that we actually want to live on, right? Like, that's the whole point.
Exactly. And just remembering we chose to be here. We chose to be here. And so to really revel in that moment, to bring those energies like through us to act in the world through our daily lives, because our life is the art project also. It is in the daily living of it.
Hell yeah. I love it. Thank you, Nicole. Beautifully said. All right. We are on to Sandy.
I'm Sandy. I am in North Carolina. In my muggle life, I'm in the fitness industry. What I feel I do is project harmonic energy to those around me and within the world. I got a very sore throat right now, so please forgive me. My work here in the Earthkeepers is more galactic than it is planetary. I hold tone and project harmonics and create a safe container because I'm usually ahead of everyone. I can see things and I experience things before others do. I'm ahead in creation. I'm like pre-creation and then at the end of creation. So I see everything from the beginning of creation until its completion. And so I know I'm ahead of people. And so I'm creating this holding tone and creating a safe container for those who have to step into that when, and join me in that position, in that experience. And I do that through unconditional love. And I do that through harmonics. And I do that through just holding the tone.
Can I toot your horn for you? Can I say some nice
Sure.
things about you? Because Sandy's very, very humble. I will say that, like, she is one of the most powerful beings I know. She works with these mega crystal nodes out in what I would call, I'm just gonna pump you up.
Yeah, and actually I'm working with one right now. I just didn't come into my brain.
Yes. So Sandy works with these like mega crystal nodes all out in what we could call like the orbital lattice of the Earth, or even out in other realms, other galaxies, other dimensions, other universes. Sandy helps connect all of these together so that what we're doing here on Earth doesn't just impact locally here on Earth, but actually transmits to all these other realms that are also in need of repair because they have fractured templates as well. And also to bring in the frequencies from these other realms so that Earth can have that infusion too. She's like kind of connects all of these. I kind of think of Sandy as like we kind of both work on each end of the spectrum, where if I'm doing some of the really heavy grid work on the planet, like for Earth, she's doing the heavy lifting out in space. And we couldn't do all of this without you, Sandy. And you're very modest and humble, but we love you and think you're amazing.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to Marie.
Hey everybody, my name is Marie and I live in Tampa Bay in Florida. So I feel like my role in this group is mostly like bridging and anchoring fluid elemental wisdom, especially water. And I say that too because I feel like a shapeshifter actually. My day job, I'm actually a scientist. I I specialize actually in biopharmaceutical regulations, but by night I'm a dream worker. So all of the grid work that I do is usually it happens actually like quite unconsciously. And sometimes I'll have remnants of what happened the night before, but most of it happens in dreams. So it's really interesting because I feel like even as I walk through the world, very like grounded in the muggle world, I feel like because I have such a rich multidimensional like history, there's so much. Might not even be able to get into all of it. But because there's so much of that, I feel like I'm able to anchor and bridge those energies in my day to day and hopefully kind of break up those rigid conscious structures that those around me experience and live in currently.
Thank you, Marie. I think of you as like kind of the water point person for like the big water stuff, which has been really, really cool to see and explore. We have that Lemuria connection, which is pretty cool too. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Ty, our one lone boy in the group.
Mhm.
Poor thing.
Well, I never really feel that though. I mean, it's been, it's just like hanging out with friends every time we get on. I don't ever think about that I'm the only guy in the group, So, but my name's Ty. I live in Texas. Well, I will say, y'all were saying, I just want to get the F out of here. I used to think a lot that I wished I lived in a magical place. I wish like where I live, I wish I could go outside and just be in like cool magical place that feels really nice. But through like all of this grid work that we've been doing and then spending a lot of time outside, it's like there is a lot of magic everywhere. And then I can also bring a lot of magic to the spaces that are around me and help make it a magical place, just like how I wish. So that's been very enlightening that, magic or magical areas that feel awesome can be right outside. It doesn't have to be in these like really awesome places like Mount Shasta or something, you know. In the Muggle world, I have my own marketing company. So I do marketing, CRM, administration. I do a lot of automation work and videography work. And I'm also in the Army National Guard. So, but in the spirit world, I am a shamanic practitioner. I'm starting to host my own shamanic circles and shamanic journeys. And I'm so thankful for the group and a lot of gratitude to the group because they've let me lead them on a lot of shamanic journeys. So I get like practice my skills and practice calling the directions and holding circle and holding space. And so that's been awesome. But I'm a practitioner of Dan Dao, which is Taoist alchemy, and also Sahaja Yoga as well. I have a partner who's working with me with all the land work that we do and everything. And we're slowly moving into actually being able to offer services. But up to this point, I've never really understood what I could actually offer to people or to spaces or homes and things like that. But through this group, I've actually been able to like become my own self and then like embody a lot of these things. And so, soon I'll be offering energy healing for individuals, helping people with balancing the energy in their homes and clearing their homes, and then also doing a lot for the land as well. Yeah. And a lot of land clearing as well, bringing balance and harmony back in the land, because I've been finding that there's a lot of trauma in the land, but that can be cleared and you can bring a lot of balance back to the land as well. So that's me.
Beautiful. I have to say that Ty and I have a funny crossover here as far as where we live. So we're both in South Austin. And I didn't know I was going to be moving here. I don't know. The beings who be arranged it where Ty was working on clearing the land and the trees all around this one area, which is where I ended up moving. And he worked on that for months. And it was just so funny. He even plotted like all the different trees he's working with on a map. And then smack dab in the middle ended up being the home that the councils helped prepare for me to move into because it's a node in itself. I've talked about vaults and nodes. It's actually a vault and a node. So I'm appreciative to Ty. He's done that clearing, and because of that, the energy around where we live is great.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm actually going to go spend some time with some of the trees tonight in that area. So
Yeah,
that
he's
whole
our
area
tree
feels
guy.
great now.
I love it. Thank you, Ty. All right, we are on to last but not least, Bright Eyes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bright Eyes. I use they, them pronouns. I identify as agender. I've got 2 trans flags in my background. I don't know if you can see that. But I live in Seattle, Washington. In my I mean, it's all magical, but in my muggle life, I'm currently on sabbatical from work, but I'm an ex-tech worker, ex-engineer, ex-professional bread baker. I've done a lot of different things. Lots of different types of stuff led me to where I am now. As a spiritual, energetic being, I most identify with a combination like scout trailblazer bridge, where I am basically going towards different energies, different ways of being, places that people have not on this earth gone to or gone to in a long time. And I'm kind of making those first paths so people can follow behind me if it feels aligned for them. It doesn't have to be humans, it could be like any types of beings, but basically opening up new energetic lines of grid work or even just embodiment, lots of different things to say there. My role in the group, I have a lot of different connections and skills. One of my biggest ones is volcanic energy, which is like a combination of water and fire and earth energy. Um, I have connection with dragons, learned some shamanic practices from Thai, so I also do some land work and energy grid work on my own in my local area. Similar to what someone else said, I do intuitive energy work practices as well with the land or just with others. One of the things I identify as is, I would say, maybe like a vibe conductor or vibe DJ, not just with music, though I do have a music connection. Like if I'm in a group of people, I can kind of sense the harmonics that are swimming around and try to direct it towards our highest good. And many people that I spend time with don't necessarily know this, but everybody can walk away feeling like a little bit more harmonized and having a good time. One of my more interesting abilities is I can remember what the future feels like. So it's not necessarily having a vision of the future, like in my mind's eye or like an image, but I know what it feels like for our society to be in a future state that is healthier and better for everyone. And part of manifesting is knowing where you're headed. This is like part of the scouting, right? So I know where I want us to be headed toward. And so if you can hold that energy in your heart while you're making decisions, it can help you direct along the correct path. And of course, there's like lots of learning and flowing along the way. I think the last thing I'll say is I had one of the most kind of structured, for anyone who's out there who likes astrology, I'm a Virgo, Pisces, Virgo sun, Virgo moon, Pisces rising. I'm in my Pisces rising era for sure, but I was very like hardcore structure, like, controlling, trying to make everything happen a certain way in the past. And I am totally flipped to the opposite now, where I'm focusing on embodying flow, living in the moment, and sensing things as they come, only like within my control, doing any action. So I like to think of it as I'm surfing life, the highest version of me that I have access to at all times. We're always just seeing the ocean of energy around us, knowing that we can't control the weather, we can't control the waves, but what we can control is our posture, our skill, and how we are not only surviving the waves that we're flowing through in life, but also riding them out and trying to make it creative and fun. So that's a philosophy that I've been living by for the last couple of years, and it's really led me to where I am today with this group. Big love to all of you. So happy to be here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bright Eyes. Yeah, I think that's been a big theme for all of us, is learning how to surf the current instead of expecting linear journeys. I know that our journey as a group has been more of like a spiral that never ends as opposed to like a straight line. And I feel like that flows right along that. Awesome. Okay, now that we're all introduced, I wanted to just kind of get a discussion going. We're just going to kind of wing it and see where it goes, because I feel like as a group, we could literally talk for hours and hours and hours, and it would always be interesting for us. Everybody has such a unique and interesting perspective that we just get into these really beautiful conversations. But we're going to just talk about what does it mean to embody unity through diversity as a group, and how we all kind of weave together and contribute. So first, I'm just going to throw out a question and we can discuss. We've been working together intensely for a little over a year now, right? Like a year and some change. And major growth has happened for every single one of us. That is for sure. And also I should mention, we started out with 12 people in our group, and the other people in the group contributed hugely as well to this whole project. Since the big action pieces completed, we've consolidated into a smaller core group that's still really tight. So I did want to ask, when did you guys realize that you had a role to play in the planetary sense? You weren't just a student in a group, because it started out as an apprenticeship, but that you were actually like, oh, I'm part of something bigger than myself. If anybody wants to say like what that moment was like for you, because there's so many people out there who also have roles to play in building of Crystal Earth and what comes now. So I'm curious if anybody wants to share. Hi, go for it.
In the beginning part of the group, I've just come in the group and I didn't really know what I could do. I knew how to meditate, but that's about it. Like, I didn't know if I had any way of moving energy or helping somebody. Like, I've never done anything in terms of practicing on somebody or practicing on trees or land or anything. And at the time of joining the group, I just got over and reintegrated a year-long soul retrieval. It took this long process, a lot of shadow work. And the frustrating about shadow work is like, oh, I just healed. I'm healed now. And then 2 weeks later, you go into the new phase of shadow work and you're like, oh man. And then it makes you want to focus on that next thing. And it's just like, even though this group's been together for so long, it's like every month there's something else you need to focus on. It's like, you understand this and then move into the next thing. But for me, there was a moment where there's this stretch of land behind my apartment, and I know it feels bad. Like, there's a lot of trauma. You don't feel good when you walk through it. And I'm just trying to figure out, what can I do for this? And it led me to a lot of different people, a session with Monet and a session with some other shamans and stuff, just to acquire information. And they all kept telling me, there's a tree you need to go see. You need to go find this tree. And so I go to this area that's called the Violet Crown. And then through a bunch of synchronicities with a bunch of birds, I find this giant oak tree that we call the Violet Crown Oak. Well, we call it that now. And this tree was like the first tree that I felt like I actually had a conversation with a spirit, and I felt like that unconditional love from something. Like, I was like, oh, I've never felt this level of love before. And that was the thing that really brought me into this is what I'm going to do. And then from there, that kind of skyrocketed all the connections to land, the connection to these elemental spirits, and to be able to figure out how to work with these other spirits to heal spaces. And it's been pretty great. And then that also led to me making a stronger connection with the person that I work with. And she's a huge part. Her skills work with my skills, and we work really well together when we're out there stretching land. This group really helped me validate all of these things I'm experiencing, because y'all are like, that's real. That's real. That's not just a synchronistic moment. That's not your imagination. All that's real. Right. And this whole group has helped me really believe in that and have a place to bounce those ideas off of. And then also to be able to practice techniques and meditations and leading and guiding. That's all been a help. So meeting that tree was the moment that I believed I had a role in all of this, but I never would have believed it if it wasn't for being able to be with all of y'all. So.
Yeah, that's so good. I always think about when Ty and I had a session together. That's kind of how we all found each other. I was doing Violet Flame sessions at the time and working on my own channeling abilities, which were starting to come through. And I channeled this vision of Ty. This was before he started working with trees or anything. Ty in front of a tree with his shaman drum, speaking to a group of people behind this giant tree. And I was like, your guides want you to see this for some reason. And then it's just so funny then to see, it just kind of unfolded from there. And now that's literally what he does. So it's having that group support, because I think a lot of people who are watching this might feel like they can relate to I feel like I might have some abilities. I feel like I have a connection to something, but sometimes it feels like, am I making this up? So being able to like have that reflected back to you, I think really helps.
Well, and I will add, I didn't really have an interest in being a shamanic practitioner or leading shamanic journeys. It was like spirit saying, "Hey, you can do this. We would like you to do this." I was like guided to do it. Now I do have a passion for this. This is great.
Yeah,
But I
you
didn't
can't always
actually
see the
have an
map.
interest in it beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of this for us, at least for me, certainly has been we're walking the path, but I could not see what the map was. Hindsight is 2020. Now I see the map. And I still don't see the map in front of me. I sense it, but I can't fully see it. So it takes a lot of willingness to just keep putting like one foot in front of the other, without always knowing where it's headed. And I think that's how we were able to be successful. Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, I was going to add that I think this is what I realized as well, like that sometimes you planted the garden, you've put the seeds in, you've been watering it, you've been building these things for years and years, and you're sitting in your garden like, man, I'm so hungry. I wish I had something to eat. Like, where's my spiritual gift? What is the thing? And then you're like, oh, it's all around me. I've been doing it. And I have to change my perspective on what it is. And similar to what Bright Eyes said about like going into a room and everyone's like leaving feeling a little bit more harmonized or a bit better. I think we all have so many different gifts in the world that we're already like enacting on. Sometimes we're sitting there looking for what they are and not looking at the things that we already do and the way we already shift and change people. And then it's like, once you kind of see what those are, you're like, oh, those are my superpowers. How do I heighten and value those and share those?
Yes. Yes, that's so good. A past mentor of mine, he kind of described this in a way where this journey is almost like baking a cake. You see the ingredients, you kind of have an idea of the recipe, you're like putting stuff in, and then it's like you put it in the oven, and the oven's like the incubation period, but you're not really sure what it's going to look like or taste like. But then at some point it's kind of like, ding, we're all on that side now, where even though we're still evolving and there's always time to evolve, I think we were kind of in a giant crucible, kind of like just pressurized us until we became crystalline, right? Like that's how crystals are formed, through pressure, and that certainly I think was part of our journey in the mission. And now it's like, oh, now looking back, when we look back at a year or so ago, it's like, wow, we have come a long way and learned so much about ourselves, and it's pretty cool to see. Anybody else want to add anything or what their moment is? Erin, go for it.
Yeah. So on that point about, things kind of coming together, and also on the point about, in the back of your head, you're still kind of thinking, is this real? Am I making this up? What is this? I went through my awakening not very long before being invited into the group. The Trail of Breadcrumbs led me to Monet's podcast, original podcast. And then, I was sort of compelled to book a session. So I don't remember which session it was, but one of them that we did, Monet, you saw me as sort of like an obelisk, and described it as like, it's the antenna, you're bringing these frequencies in, and then your heart space is like the amplifier. And at the time we were just kind of like, oh, that's a cool ability. Like, don't know what the deal is, but that's cool. And at the same time, then, I was getting a lot of downloads and meditation from my guides, meeting new guides. I had all this stuff going on. And everything that was coming through for me was all about harmonics, frequency, and tone, which again made sense to me. I'm a musician. I didn't mention that in my intro, but I've been a musician all my life, always been very, interested and attracted to harmony and dissonance, resolving to harmony, all of that sort of thing. So it all made sense to me. But then I came into the group, and as you said, like we were still trying to kind of piece things together, figure things out, and have so much information coming in from everywhere. And then it started to, like, we all started to get the messaging about everything being about harmonics, tone, resonance, frequency. And that was the key to the override. I had been figuring out a lot about myself, but still to a point was unsure how I fit into this dynamic. And then that was just like, holy cow, like just everything started to align. Everything that I had been doing individually was what we ended up doing collectively. And it really was mind blowing and so validating. I just was like, okay, yeah, this is it. This is a thing. It felt forever in my life like I am supposed to be doing something. I jumped from thing to thing. Like I had that feeling of like, there's something that I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what it is. And as soon as this started happening, as soon as we started doing this work, and I've progressed through this awakening, like that, the feeling is gone. Like I feel like this is the thing. So yeah, that was the moment I was like, okay, I know what my role is.
Yes. Yes. I can relate to that a lot because I was always kind of like, why did I go get a music degree? Why is music and tone such a big part of my life? Like it always has been since I was very young. It was just kind of ingrained in me. It's like the language I spoke, but I couldn't see how it fit into my role, But then it's like, oh wait, it's not actually separate. Like that's the heart of it because everything in this universe is made from light and sound and tone and color and shadow as the spaces between. So of course it's all connected. And that was the key to the override. And we couldn't really even see that. We didn't even know we were doing an override until it was well in the works. So yeah, it's interesting to see how things evolved over time and connecting our own gifts and abilities that we've always had. It's nothing separate. Anybody else want to jump in? Sandy.
Monet, you know that you and I have worked together. We've been over 2 years now. We started
Like
out
3 or
with
4
doing,
years, I feel like at
yeah,
this point. It's
I know
crazy.
it's been a while. We started out with quantum hypnosis, and right away, I think I was telling you, Monet, that we're supposed to be working together. That we're going to be doing something in the future. This is not supposed to end for us. And through quantum hypnosis, was able to see a lot and meet my parallel. And then when coming into this group, it was supposed to be an apprenticeship for us. And I'm, all right, good. So now she's going to teach me or how to use my channeling and stuff that you and I were working on. And then I came in and I was thinking, and this would be a great time for me as a sacred soul practitioner for sacred soul symbols and sacred soul alignments. But when I came in, I was like, that's not it. That's not what I'm here to do. It's just these people don't need this. And then over time, it's not an apprenticeship anymore. We're a team. We are here to be doing this big role together. And then I started realizing, but it is still an apprenticeship. It's just that not under Monet. We're all here. Yeah. And I didn't realize exactly what I was supposed to do until I had this big download, and it was with Source. And that's like, okay, I'm not supposed to be doing this energetic work that I think I'm supposed to be doing here in this group. That's for other people. It's not for here in this group. And this group, that's when I learned that's actually when I learned too that I was ahead of people because things were happening. Like, I've already experienced this. This has already happened. And, but, that's when I started realizing that what my role was in this group. So I thank you, Monet, for all that time.
Yeah. So Sandy actually works outside of time, which is so cool. We're all kind of keyed into this whole override sequence at like different times, and hers is like ahead of all of us. We kind of look to Sandy where we're like, okay, are things going to start feeling better soon? Because Sandy's already ahead. But the override needed someone ahead who can work outside of time. It's really interesting how they did that.
Yeah, and I remember when that first started happening, I was very confused. I'm like, wait a minute. I was very, very confused about that. And then it took me a while to understand, and with my guides helping me understand what was going on.
Yeah. And I think something beautiful that you spoke about is we all have a unique crystalline blueprint. Sometimes we try to tell ourselves what we should be, but it doesn't always look like what we think it's supposed to look like. As crystalline beings, we're all very thoughtfully designed with our own crystalline energetic blueprint. And so it's more about, I think, surrendering to the blueprint that's already there versus trying to make it happen or thinking, okay, well, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? What if I do this? It's more of like, okay, let's just get quiet and listen. And it just reveals itself. So I'm curious if anybody had moments along the way. Marie, I knew you're going to, somehow I knew it was going to be you.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that because just working through this group, I sometimes think like, man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not taking enough time to do ceremonies or like meditating. And then I have dreams about things and I don't remember them. And one of the biggest things in my journey has been like, I just need to let go remembering these things and just trust that I'm doing the work, even though I may not be conscious of what it is exactly. So,
Yeah, I think sometimes it's easy to, especially if we're doing active grid work like this, we can get into a space where we're like, well, I should be doing more. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. We all have a different pace and we all have a different function. And I think this speaks to the non-hierarchical nature of what we're doing. You know, it's like our roles may look completely different, but we're not trying to be each other and match each other. We're just living into what each of our own function is and trusting that that's enough, because it always is. I can't tell you how many times we're all in our own lane, focusing on our own life or growth, and then we discover, like, wait, we have complete overlap. We're working on the same thing at the same time. And we're helping each other, even if we don't consciously realize that. And that's happened like in critical mission thresholds. For example, like me and Sandy both working with, the same mega node, basically at the same time, at critical timing, but we're all being led by the same forces. They're all helping support us at the same time. So it's just surrendering and trusting that we'll know what we're supposed to do when we know it's time, instead of trying to be super linear and force things. Yeah,
They
Ty.
say it's a divine timing because everybody comes into their own embodiment at different times. Because at the beginning of this group, I remember there was a handful of y'all that were doing like really big work, and all I was doing was just doing my shadow work on trust in my living room. And like, I'm like, am I supposed to be in this group? Like these guys are doing big things and all I'm doing is shadow work in my living room. What's going on here? But the individual trauma healing of yourself, the self-healing is also the work, because the more you heal in yourself, the stronger your inner pillar, that pillar of sovereignty is, which means you can hold more light, which means that when it's your time, the divine timing for you to do your part, you're able to hold a much stronger light because you did all that inner healing. So don't feel like you're missing out or not doing your part when all you're doing is like the inner healing, because that part is it as well.
Yeah, that's the work. It's like expanding and growing and strengthening the roots of your system so that you can grow. Because if you just focus on ascending or expanding, you're just going to topple over when a windstorm comes by, because the roots aren't there to anchor you. It has to go hand in hand. Has to go hand in hand. You can't bypass and we can't ignore the inner work. It's all part of it. It's all tied together.
I'll just say, when I first realized that I was in this group to help do something beyond connecting with people and growing, there was a period of time where we have this closed online group where we can post things and chat and have discussions. And we were all seeing similar things in meditations or visuals, or like there was all this synchronicity happening. Like I get goosebumps when I think about it. The vibration was so intense. And there was a point where I recognized, it was in a conversation. I remember Marie was in it. There were probably others, but I recognized that Earth had a consciousness and her name is Gaia. And I get goosebumps when I think about it. And it wasn't just the recognition, it was the recognition that what has happened to this planet, how much has happened to Gaia that was not consensual. We do not want to repeat the same patterns. It was that feeling of that in my soul. We cannot keep repeating these patterns. We have got to do something different. And we need to heal her, help heal her with her consent, all of that. conversation in that I was doing inner work and recognizing, like, wait a minute, I've been connecting to Gaia all my life and I just never realized it. And then then it was from there, it was like, I'm here to help her. Like, I really want to help her kind of energy. So I just wanted to share that because I think it weaves into how many synchronicities happen in this group, how many parallel experiences, literal symbols that will pop in our heads. And I saw this and this other person saw the same exact thing. How is that? We're connecting, and it's beautiful to be part of, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, thank you, Amber. I was thinking about this earlier today, too, as I was thinking about what we should talk about on the podcast today. I was thinking about what was the moment where we realized something else is going on here. And this wasn't just an apprenticeship, wasn't just like a regular group, but like there's some element of mission here, and we're not quite sure what it was. And I remember that exact moment for me, which I think ties into a really good conversation we could have about sovereignty, too, which is where we were all having a group meeting. We were all in ceremony together, tapping into the field. And I remember I tapped into Gaia as a planetary body and a planetary consciousness. And I went into her heart space, and I just felt this massive amount of sorrow and pain. And at the time, I couldn't see the map, but I knew that that was the moment for me where it clicked for me, where it was like, I don't know what the mission is. I know there is a mission because I'd had that sense for years. I just couldn't piece it together, and it was killing me. But that was it for, it was like, that was for Gaia, not for rescuing her. It was about partnering with her as a sovereign being, a sovereign planetary consciousness. It wasn't like, oh, we're coming in to save the day here. It was like, no, we're right there with her. And that's our role, is to witness the pain and the trauma from previous fractures in the grid, and from human trauma, and even from trauma from outside beings over millennia, that it had to be for her, with her. And that's the core of the mission. That was like the anchored. Even if we couldn't see the map, I knew that was our North Star. Gaia is a sovereign being, and it was about restoring her sovereignty and thus restoring Earth as a sovereign planetary node within the galactic chorus, right? And that could only happen if we did it with Gaia.
I mean, we're talking about Gaia, and we're talking about nature and trees. I mean, like, if we gotta, you gotta give the trees the voice on this moment. So the one of the things I want to say is that I understand, after spending a lot. I mean, now I spend anywhere from 5 to 7 hours a week, just like outside, sitting with a tree, or walking around them, or going in the spots, or I'll get this itch of where I should be going next. I'm like, oh, I really need to go here. And then I get there, I'm like, oh, this is a really rough space. I'm like, I get why I'm here now. Or I'll get to a space and there'll be like this really huge feather. Like, this is a gift. And there'd be this really huge feather that I run into. I'm like, and then it's obvious that there's something here I need to do, right? And Spirit's like, hey, pay attention to this. But I understand why humans don't have a connection to nature, because over the last century, well, hundreds of years, thousands of years, but specifically like in this area, if you're just talking on a micro level, we've neglected the land, and we haven't been kind to it. And you go in these places and the trees are just turned off. Like, they're not there. They're not going to communicate to anyone. In the shamanic world, when a person goes through a trauma, there could be a part of them that leaves, so they don't feel the full pain of that. And so that's like a soul fragment, and like part of your soul fragment off, right? And that's why they have soul retrieval, so you can get that part of you back, right? And when I go out to the land, the trees have that part of them missing, right? The part that would be lively, the part of them that you could communicate with, the part of them that gets their energy moving correctly. And you try to connect to them and they're just turned off, right? And they have heavy hearts. You can feel it because like the tree's nervous system is very similar to ours. And they communicate a lot through our emotions, especially the younger ones. The older ones, I feel like, are wiser and they know humans better, so they can communicate better, which is cool. But when you go into a stretch of land that has been healed and is not holding trauma that like humans have done to it, you can feel how like alive it is and how buzzing it is. And every tree you touch, you feel like it's just like giving you a hug. But the human trauma that humans have done to the land like stays in the ground. You know, like you think about like the wars and stuff on land, like that blood like stays in the ground. And especially like since we've been doing farming on all this land and everything as well, we don't allow fires to come in and transmute the areas anymore. Like we prevent fires from doing that. So there's not that transformation, that transmuting energy going through the land to clear it. So it just sits and then everything just grows not the way it should. And it's growing out of control too, because their consciousness isn't fully present. So they're not able to manage those resources. And then the last thing I would say, what's been really cool though, is that like every stretch of land has like a mother tree, right? There's like one nodal tree that takes care of all of the other areas. And they communicate through that fungal network, right? Like there's like scientific proven research on that too. And this one mother tree will communicate to all the other ones and make sure resources are used appropriately so the land stays healthy and strong. But when all the trees are turned off, the trees just grow out of control and they suck up all the resources. And so that's where like the ground becomes harder and the ground isn't as healthy and everything. So, you know, being able to connect with Gaia and being able to will help lead to being able to connect to the spaces around you, which leads to helping them come back, because like just paying attention to them could help them come back. You don't have to like be an energy healer. Just paying attention to your trees and your plants, you know, will move out that neglect, right? That love energy will like move out that negative energy and they'll start helping to heal these spaces and get them to wake up so spaces become healthier.
Yes, yes. I think a lot of the work that we do, some of the most powerful work we've done, is not about fixing, but just witnessing to bring balance to the land or the grid or a node or to an area in the grid. It's not like we're going there and like blowing shit up or, you know, it's like sometimes it's literally we're just witnessing it. And it's like in that witnessing is really powerful. It's quieter, but it's more powerful in a lot of ways.
And how everything I just said kind of ties into sovereignty, like with the land anyways, like trauma that we've done to it, that energy is in the land, which suppresses the trees and suppresses land and suppresses everything. And so that suppression is not helping them live their fullest life. And it's not allowing them to be in their own sovereignty. And so whenever I go in the spaces now, there's a level of like having to connect first and saying that, hey, we're here to help. We're not here to continue the trauma. There's usually a witnessing, like Monet said, there's a witnessing of maybe a memory that they had of what happened there. And then there's a release. And then it's like they wake up. There's like this return. And it's really beautiful. But there is a sovereignty there with the land that they have to come back to. But, you know, it's like it's a human thing. It's a human energy that we've placed on them. So it's like humans need to go and witness and pay attention to them in order to get their sovereignty back.
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of these beings, whether they be elemental, like a tree, or even like an ancient being that's tied to a node protecting it, they have been overlooked for a long time because people just walk by them and don't notice that we're all living in a living field. It's kind of like, I see you, and that's powerful. All right, I think Bright Eyes wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to add something on to what Ty said, but I'll say first, what is sovereignty? Sovereignty is you as a person or as a soul or a spirit, you know, could be a tree. You're free. You're not under anybody else's control. You have your own agency. You're making your own choices. Sometimes the thing that is influencing your choices is another version of yourself that is not fully healed. That's kind of what Ty was talking about with the trees and the land. In shamanic practices, he's saying there's a soul fragment can break off during traumatic incidents. One of the things that we can think about of restoring our own sovereignty is, how do we as humans allow our highest self to become the most free, have the most agency, and be as centered as we can in all of our decision making. One of the things that we've already talked about today is we have to do our own shadow work. We have to find our own soul fragments. We have to figure out what parts of us were traumatized, what parts of us need to be healed. Could be from this life, could be from energy around us, could be from other things outside of this lifetime. That's work that everyone here in this group has done very diligently. That's kind of what we're doing with Gaia as well. And with the cosmic grids or beyond anything on this planet.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you guys out there watching saw that I froze for a long time, but we figured it out. I'm back now. So I was going to just ask the group like one more question. And then I was actually, as we were talking about Gaia, I got pinged that Gaia wants to help do like a transmission through us as a group for anybody watching to come into what it feels like to be in this new field, Gaia's crystalline field. Because now when I tap into Gaia, I don't feel that same heaviness, that same heartbreak that I felt, about a year ago before we embarked on this. So it's pretty cool to see how many things have shifted. And it'd be really great to be able to let other people experience that field too. So I wanted to ask you guys, what has been the most fun or magical part about doing grid work together as a group? We kind of speak to it as almost like weaving together. The first time I really remember us doing this, the imagery that they gave me was, it was like a tapestry. And each of us has our own thread. This is why it couldn't have been done just with one person, this whole project. It's like one thread can be broken, but when you have multiple threads all woven together, it strengthens, it becomes a tapestry, not just a thread. And so when we weave together as a group, when we're doing grid work together, we become this cohesive, unified field that holds more power and feeds itself than if it were just one or two of us, or even three of us alone. And that's really powerful. So I'm just curious if anybody wants to add to that, what that experience is like for you guys. Because sometimes it's like, okay, talk about grid work. That's what most of this is centered around. But like, what does that even look like? And so you guys will get to see us demonstrate that together and flow with it. So if anybody wants to add anything or what their experience has been with that.
I'll say the most fun thing for me, which somebody mentioned before, is when we're doing grid work or energy work together, we often enter ceremony and start doing stuff, and then we'll close and we'll reflect on it afterwards as a group. And the number of times we've seen similar things or seen the same thing across different people without having said a word about it, it's just very confirming that we're all doing the same thing together with our higher selves.
Yeah, all tapping into the same field.
Yes.
Maybe you want to add to that, Amber?
To me, what makes it even more resonant is that we're each seeing it from our individual perspectives. So like, oh, I saw it from this angle, and oh, I saw it from that angle, and I saw it from underneath. And, like we're feeling the energy, not seeing it. You know what I mean? So we're all seeing it or feeling it from different perspectives. And then when you put it all together, it's like, oh, that's what you can see the whole more clearly.
Yes. Yeah. See the whole picture, right? Sandy. Yeah.
For me, the most special part of it is the unity, that how we all come together. We're doing our individual work, but we're also doing the group work together. And that's what's very special to me, is that we're all coming together as one.
Yes. And we all have our own unique functions that, like, when they weave together, it makes a whole unified field that we couldn't create on our own. Erin.
I always think of us as, we each have our individual notes, and together we're the chord, or we're the individual instruments, and then we form the orchestra. And if one of us wasn't there, it's not exactly that the work wouldn't get done, but it wouldn't have the same effect. It wouldn't have the same power, and it wouldn't have the same resonance as it does when we all do it together.
Yes. The same depth right? Because one note is great, but harmony, I mean, that's literally what all of this is about. That's what it means to live in Crystal Earth, is that the field is harmony. Everybody contributes their own voice, their own note, their own string, and together it's stronger, right? Anybody else want to add something?
I want to add something to what you just said, which is harmony is also like that active, excited, consenting, I want to be here. And it's been very clear to us in many ways, like the people that are not yet ready or they're not on the same vibe, like they just won't participate. And that's totally cool too. Part of the harmony is knowing when it's a hell yes for you versus like a, I don't think so.
Yeah. And for example, my daughter, she's here every once in a while for things, and she's kind of like a auxiliary Earthkeeper. Maybe she has her own contributions, and it's like I'll invite her in, and then sometimes she'll be like, "I'm not feeling it." I'm like, "Cool, go do your thing. Go watch TV or whatever. Go be a kid. And it's like, and it's okay. It's not like, oh, we all have to be here doing it at the same time at the same frequency. No, if it feels resonant, then we're here and we're here for it. And if not, that's okay too. There's no shoulds or have tos. Nicole, did you want to say something?
Of course, echo what everyone else was saying, but this is kind of silly, but I love the moment when we begin together, because it's like when you can feel everyone click in to each other's field, it just gets me so happy, and it's very Captain Planet to me. You can feel like you're calling in, and then with our powers combined, which is hilarious, but also speaking to the unity that Sandy was speaking about. You can really feel it, and it's just it really fills my heart with a lot of joy to feel the connection to you all, even though we're all over the world. And so I just think that part's fun.
Yes. And the resonance field that we create together amplifies, right? It's amplifies and is felt not just locally wherever we are, but throughout all of the grid. And it's pretty amazing. So while we were talking about Gaia gave me a little hello that she wanted to offer up to those who are watching or listening to this, to be able to step into her crystalline field and feel it. And so what we're going to do right now is do what we normally do. When we do grid work, sometimes we come in with a specific intention. It might be okay, we're working on this area of the land. For example, when there were wildfires back in LA, that was almost a year ago. That's crazy. So much happened between now and then. For example, it's okay, now we're working with the land and the elementals, or we might have an intention, but usually it's the field talks to us and we just kind of go in open. And then my role is the anchor of the transmission, to where the beings or the councils or the groups or the nodes kind of come in through me, tell me what we're meant to be doing in this space. And then we all just tap into it together. So we're going to just kind of do that and create a shared field for anybody who wants to just be able to tap in and feel into Gaia's crystalline heart field and her greater grid as well. So we're just going to see what happens, as we usually do. And for those listening, you can close your eyes and tune in or watch or whatever feels right for you. And we all do this differently too. You might see some of us move. You might hear some of us tone. You might see some of us just be totally still. And each one of us contributes together. So, okay. So just going to go ahead and connect our field together. And just focusing on the nexus in the middle of our field here, that prismatic star that we usually connect to, that all kind of just ties all of our threads together like a wheel with many spokes. When we're getting a good transmission flowing through here. Okay. So this should feel good. If you're listening or watching, all you have to do is just, I accept. I want to receive it. And now what I'm viewing here is I'm seeing Earth's field. You can imagine it It's bright and it's vivid. And right in the center of the field is her crystalline heart. This is um, Gaia's seat of consciousness, of her heart field. And you can just imagine rainbow frequencies that are just expanding outward. And allow that expansion to come into your own field. And tap into your own heart field. Imagining a golden cord all the way into Gaia's core. Inviting in any elemental beings who also want to join us. Oh, there's a being here who wants to make themselves known. I've been working with this being for a long time and seeing her. This is Gaia's crystalline dragon. We work with a lot of dragons in our group. The dragons just started showing up and finding us first before we didn't seek them out. They sought us. Allow your field to clarify. Smoothing over any dissonance. Allowing in clear crystal resonance. You can put your hand on your heart. You feel it and just breathe that love in from Gaia herself, from her heart field. Take one long, slow breath in, out. And just remember that you're already whole. You are part of this field. And we witness you. And with that, let's all come back. When you're ready. And before we close out, this is the fun.
Felt like my heart space was just blown open, so expansive. Yeah.
It's also really feeling like the pulse, like the energy of the pulse of Gaia's heart and us inside of it, and not just not separate, beating in rhythm with Gaia.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I feel like I was doing a lot. At the end, I was sending a lot of red energy, red from Gaia and through all of us and up.
That's really interesting, Bright Eyes, because I was seeing this glowing red, sparkly orb of something, and I was questioning why the red? I don't. It was just an unusual visual for me, so it's interesting.
There we go. See, we can't make it up, right? It's like we're all having the same experiences in the same field. Anybody else want to say anything? Sandy?
The red that I believe we've been seeing, because I've seen it too, is us grounding against the root chakra. Gaia's root chakra grounding. We're all grounding
Root
in
chakra,
her.
yeah.
And what I experienced was the nervous system, because I share Gaia's nervous system. And so I was seeing the nervous system, but I was also seeing all her chakras lining up. Getting brighter, especially when you were calling in the colors.
Beautiful.
So that was beautiful.
Thank you, Sandy. Anybody else want to add anything? Go ahead, Marie.
So it's kind of like what Bright Eyes was doing. I was doing a lot, and at one point I feel like I tapped into the ground, and a spring of water like opened up, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Like a bunch of water is coming out." And I don't know if anybody saw anything like that, but I kind of saw the water then kind of like reverberating throughout the land or the planet.
That's so cool. Erin, yeah, what did you see?
Yeah, all of a sudden I kind of zoomed in on Earth and it just was rivers and water and like waterfalls, and it just be my field was just kind of everything water. So yeah, that's interesting too.
So fun. I love it. There's so much power in connecting together, right? Like connecting the field together, tapping into the same field. Anybody else want to add anything?
It was interesting doing this, it knowing that it's going out into the world. I was getting like different information that was like being called to be sent to people or like for people. Like, and so instead of for, which I'm sure you experience all the time, Monet, as things going out in the world, but it was like, oh, not just like in this field, something's happened, like this will be seen, and it was being called to like bring thing for those people that are going to receive it. Yeah.
It's so cool. That's beautiful. Anybody else want to add anything?
Something I've been connecting with the heart of Gaia or the center of the earth for much of the day. And this happened also just now. I noticed it was significant because I don't always see this, but it seemed to initially there was a lot of like purple violet light, and then amidst that was a lot of like rainbow spectrum, if that makes sense. And then when I connect to the heart of Gaia, I automatically then connect with source, and the source light coming through was very like the abalone shell, like the white with the rainbow. And I just thought that was significant because yes, today in particular I've been noticing that. And then as Nicole had mentioned, towards the end just felt like, okay, time to transmit. So I was just like, when we were connected to our hearts, like I didn't put my hand there because I was transmitting, and it was like all the colors to anybody who needed whatever it was, just an offering. So it's pretty interesting.
That's beautiful. Anybody else? Ty, are you the only one that did you want to say something? Ty's speechless.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm usually kind of hanging out in the root side of things, and kind of just like holding down the fort and kind of a protection role as well. A lot of times nowadays, it was kind of neat visualizing going down close to Gaia's heart and a lot of other people joining us and being with us and having that like sense of peace for a little while. That like it's always nice when you get in that meditation and you just feel centered and there's peace. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen in the next hour or what happened in the past hour. You're just present in the present moment and you get that sense of peace. And so that's always like a magical space. So
yes, presence is powerful. And I think it speaks to, we all work with different facets of Gaia's field. Ty is very land-based. Sandy's always out somewhere in the cosmos, right? And I'm usually somewhere within Gaia's crystalline heart field because that's my function. So it's like we all have these different roles, but together it's holographically, you kind of smush it together. It creates a complete field. I think we're going to wrap up. I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this, include the group today, is not just about us. It's, I've talked a bit about on this podcast about crystalline beings. I've talked about that a lot on my old podcast as well. And this is really what it means and what it looks like to be a crystalline being. We interact with and interface with Gaia's field, with the earth, and all of beyond, right? That's part of how we were programmed, because crystals are programmable. Like I talk about that a lot. We're not the only ones. We were all brought together for this project, but there are more crystalline beings out there. There are hundreds of thousands of crystalline beings out there. And if you're just thinking like, maybe this is me, or like I'm resonating with what they're all saying, it's because most likely we have this in common. And it's not a race to kind of like step into our own gifts and abilities and learning about why we're here, why we came here for this exact transition in humanity. But I hope that this opened your heart a bit, and so that you can kind of begin to see like, maybe there are other people like me out there, and that